Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. Thought I'd do a little Vectrex game here, and I made a discovery when I was trying this one out. I'm not too bright when it comes to these old console games of this era. Things like the Vectrex and the Atari 2600 had a feature that I had kind of forgotten about in this modern day of just playing a game when I plug in the cartridge. And that is that a lot of the ones back in the day actually had variations of their gameplay. For example, I know I was never a big fan of the Atari 2600 version of Asteroids until somebody pointed out game number 6 plays a lot more like the coin-op version, and then I quite enjoyed Asteroids. Similarly, game number 7 of Super Breakout, I think it's called Progressive Mode, that's a much better version than game number 1. It's like, I can't even describe it. It's like playing Super Breakout on a typewriter. My personal favorite has always been on the 2600 game Surround. Game number 4 is a lot more challenging because it speeds up. And if you put the AI on difficulty A, that game is really, really fun. So, yeah, I had forgotten when I was playing this Vector Pong game to check the variations. And I'm very glad that I did, because it's got some very cool ones, and nobody really talks about this title, so I thought I'd do a video. Now, this was posted online in Atari Age by a guy who goes by the handle Kid Qualude. He also is on the Vector Gaming forums as Binary Star, and when I go to the main menu, it's showing his name as C. Malcolm. Anyway, this game is Pong, and it's got some neat variations, which I will get to in a second. Obviously, because the Vectrex has a vertically oriented monitor, it just makes sense to have the board played in this orientation, whereas Pong is typically a left and right type of gameplay. The AI on this Pong is pretty good, I have to say. I was only able to get up to about 4 points before it defeated me. In this version of Pong, the score maxes out at 10, as opposed to the classic coin-op, which maxed out at 11. But yeah, I was lucky to maybe get half the points that the AI got. It's a very smart game of Pong. Here, I'll give it a quick go here. The movement of the ball looks really nice on the Vectrex, I have to say. It's very smooth and very, very clean. So if we go to the main menu for Vector Pong, you can see a variety of different options. Now that's just standard Pong we were looking at, but he's added in a battle mode and some bumpers, which I'll get to in a second. I also really like the control options here. You can play with analog or digital. Digital means if you've got like a modded Sega Genesis controller and you're just using a D-pad, that's the recommended way to play that. You can also play 2 players on one joystick. 2 players with different with 2 Vectrex controllers using analog, or 2 players both with modified Sega Genesis controllers. Now, battle mode, this is the one that is really interesting to me, and it also indicates I'm not too bright when it comes to these old games. Let me show you what battle mode is. So this is battle mode, and as you can see, it's still Pong, but instead of playing to a score, we've got these 5 shields or bunkers behind each of the paddles. What happens in battle mode is instead of playing to the score, you just try to deplete those shields, and when they're gone and if the ball goes through, that's the end of the game. And it's a really good variation on the Pong theme. I really like this. I did notice, though, when I was first trying these versions out, it seemed as though the version of the ROM that I had was defective. First of all, the game would crash at a certain point, and also the ball speed was very slow sometimes when it was being hit. Not slow like you're seeing right now. I mean that if nobody touched the ball, it would start increasing in speed, but as soon as the paddle came in touch with it, it would slow down again. So like hitting the brakes on the gameplay. That has been corrected. I don't know if I'm a big fan of these new sounds. The old ROM I had a neat kind of a classic bleep and bloop sound to the ball being passed back and forth. But regardless, what's far more important, though, is I was actually playing and seeing what would happen when the shields were depleted. In fact, you can see there, they get dimmer as they get hit. Oh, that one's in real trouble now. Better be careful. But I thought I better make sure I get the latest version of the ROM. Now I'm putting a link in the description below. It should be version 104, and I definitely downloaded that twice to make sure, but on the menu it's saying it's version 103. I'm not sure if that's a mistake in how I downloaded or what have you. Why did I want to make sure I had the latest version in addition to making sure the game doesn't crash? I noticed, you see the right behind my paddle right now, it's like an empty space. On the previous version of the game I was playing, I had that, and I let the ball go through just to see what would happen, and the ball bounced back out and back into play again, and I thought, oh, it's like it didn't even register that there's a depleted shield there. Clearly I need the latest version of the ROM. That wasn't actually true. And this is where my comment about I'm not too bright comes in, because physically my Vectrex was not too bright. I usually try to keep the brightness setting a little bit low on my Vectrex, because once these vector monitors are gone, that's it, they're gone. So I don't really like to have this thing play at maximum brightness too often. And after the shield got hit twice and the ball bounced out of the empty space, I thought, oh, this is a defective ROM. I better make sure I get the right one. That wasn't the case. Actually, the shields have got 3 levels before they are completely depleted, and I didn't see that because I had my brightness set a little bit lower. Now that I've downloaded the latest version of the ROM and I've actually got my brightness just a hair higher than I normally like it, I can see that when the shield is definitely going to be depleted, it's definitely game over. In fact, let's see if I can let that thing go through that empty spot there. Okay, so that one's almost gone. Now it's completely gone. Game over. So yes, the shields have got 3 levels of intensity before they're completely gone. I thought there was only 2 because the brightness of my Vectrex was set so low that I could only see 2 levels of brightness. So if any of you are trying out this game, I recommend you make sure your brightness is set in such a way that the shield appears at least 3 levels of intensity before it's gone. So let's try the final variation that this game comes with, the bumpers. You can have 1 or 2. I'll set 2 because they're basically the same thing. The bumpers are those little asterisks in the center there, and the purpose that they serve is just to add a little extra random variation to the gameplay. The ball will bounce off them, kind of like, if you know in the game Arkanoid, there's those geometric shapes that are sometimes behind the bricks, and if the ball comes into contact with them, they set it off in a random new direction. That's basically what these bumpers do, and you can have 1 or 2 of them on the game. You can also, oh, look what he did there. You can also set these bumpers to be in the standard Pong game as well, where you're playing for a score. So yeah, like I say, it's a really good game, and I'm glad that I suddenly became brighter and realized, hey, I should try these games out with these different variations instead of just vanilla Pong. It's a very good Pong game, but with these extra features of battle mode and the bumpers to be set, it really makes for a neat variation on the game. I highly recommend this. So kudos to C. Martin for making a very good Vectrex Pong game. I would give this game a 4 out of 5. I think it's a great Vectrex Pong game. I really like the variations that are present here. Why not a 5 out of 5? Well, the AI is pretty tough. I mean, I'm finding it very difficult to get any points against this thing. It'd be nice if that was variable. And also, I kind of preferred the sounds as they were in the previous version of the ROM. They had the standard Pong bleep and bloop sound. I don't know if I'm as big of a fan of these sounds. Now before I go, I am going to try out my paddle controllers on this thing just to see if that makes any difference. Alright, well, I have plugged my Atari driving controller in, and unfortunately it's not even getting recognized, so it doesn't work with the Atari driving controller. Alright, and I have now hooked up my EverDrive controller, which is a little steering wheel thing. I'm going to do a review of this someday. But let's try this one out. It does get recognized. This is pretty good. Yeah, totally works. I like that. Here, I'll prove it. You can see I'm moving the pedal with the steering controller. Yeah, this is definitely the way to control this thing. I like this. Really like this overdrive controller. I'm definitely going to do a review of this another time. But anyway, so yes, it definitely works with the overdrive. I'm still not very good though. But yeah, there you go. There's Vector Pong for the Vectrex. Highly recommended. 4 out of 5. It would be a 5 out of 5 if the AI was a little bit better and maybe, or variable. The AI is very, very good. I just wish you could control the settings of it. Maybe have it be slightly dumber. Again, I'm not too bright with these games. And also, if it did work with the Atari driving controller, that would have been pretty cool. So, but still, awesome game. Really like it. We'll see you down the rabbit hole.